option that's autofill. If you click on autofill, pass.
Good evening.
Then it
Welcome to
means
the
that-
Oregon City Council regular meeting for February 13th, 2023. The time now is 7 PM, and we will open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Evans, would you take a roll call vote of council present?
Mr. Davish?
Here.
Mr. Drake?
Here.
Mr. Horniak?
Here.
Mrs. Pollock?
Here.
Mr. Reeves?
Here.
Mr. Wallenseck?
Here.
Mr. Zale?
Here. Also present, also the mayor will be present. He's been delayed a little bit. Also present though is City Administrator Joel Major, Clerk of Council Tina Evans and Cassie Rawson, Law Director Melissa Pepora, Public Service Director Paul Roman, Chief of Police Brandon Began, Fire Chief Clayton O'Brien, and Assistant Finance Director Nick Rome. Council, the first agenda item we have to take care of is the approval of the meeting minutes for January the 9th and January 23rd regular meetings.
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves.
I move for approval of the minutes from the January 9th and January 23rd regular council meetings as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Second.
Second by Mr. Davish. Thank you, Mr. Davish. Counselor, are there any objections? Hearing none, the meeting minutes for January 9th and January 23rd have been accepted. Also for this evening, council, we need to add items 16, 17, 18, and 19, 2023 to tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves.
so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Second.
Second by Mr. Davish. Thank you, Mr. Davish. Council, any objections? Hearing none, items 16, 17, 18, and 19, 2023 are added to this week's agenda. First item for passage is item 13, 2023, which we already discussed at last week's committee of the whole meeting. Council, any questions or comments regarding this item? Hearing none, I will assign item 13, 2023 as ordinance 13, 2023, and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record.
Revising the codified ordinances of the City of Oregon by adopting current replacement pages, authorizing payment of $4,730.94 to the Walter H. Drain Company, 525 Vine Street, Suite 310, Cincinnati, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Council.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallensack.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I make a motion for passage of ordinance number 13 of 2023 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Wallensack.
Second.
Second by Mr. Drake. Thank you, Mr. Drake. Ms. Evans, you take a roll call vote for council, please.
Mr. Wallenseck?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Davish?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mrs. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Zale?
Yes, thank you, council. Ordinance 13, 2023 passes with 7 yeas and 0 nays. Next item is item 14, 2023, which we also discussed at the committee of the whole meeting last week. Council, do you have any other questions or comments regarding item 14? Hearing none, I will assign item 14 as ordinance 14, 2023, and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor and finance director to enter into an agreement with Superior Uniforms, 909 Phillips Avenue, Toledo, Ohio, to provide fire uniforms and supplies as required by the collective bargaining agreements entered into between the fire unions, IAFF and OPTFA, and the City of Oregon.
Council.
Mr. President,
Ms. Paula.
I move for passage of ordinance 14 of 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Paula.
Second.
Second by Mr. Drake or Mr. Wallensack?
Wallensack.
Mr. Wallensack. Thank you, Mr. Wallensack. Ms. Evans, would you take a roll call vote of council on ordinance 14?
Mrs. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Wallenseck?
Yes.
Mr. Davish?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Zale?
Yes. Thank you, council. Ordinance 14, 2023 passes with 7 yeas and 0 nays. Next item, which we also discussed last week at the committee of the whole meeting, item 15, 2023. Council, are there any other questions or comments regarding item 15? Hearing none, I will assign item 15, 2023 as ordinance 15, 2023, and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record.
Accepting the bid of DL Smith Concrete LLC, 585 Old State Road, Norwalk, Ohio, for furnishing labor, materials, and equipment for the LUC Munding Drive and Dearborn Avenue reconstruction project, authorizing the mayor, director of public service, and finance director to enter into a contract with said contractor and declaring an emergency.
Council.
Mr. President,
Mr. Davish.
I move for passage of ordinance 15 of 2023 as an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Davish.
Second.
Second by Ms. Pollock. Thank you, Ms. Pollock. Ms. Evans, you take a roll call vote of the council, please.
Mr. Davish?
Yes.
Mrs. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Wallenzeck?
Yes.
Mr. Zale?
Yes, thank you, council. Ordinance 15, 2023 passes with 7 yeas and 0 nays. Next item for consideration for this evening is item 16, 2023, which is being presented by Mayor Michael Safarian and Fire Chief Clayton O'Brien, and I will defer to Chief O'Brien.
Yes, this ordinance is for Boundtree, which is our medical supplies that's purchased each and every year. This would be probably an annual ordinance that's been done in the past, but it is consistently the lowest price, and we get the same bid as what they currently get at Lucas County. So that's what we determined that Boundtree would be the best to continue purchasing our medical supplies.
Thank you, Chief. Council, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I will assign item 16, 2023 as ordinance 16, 2023, and ask Ms. Evans to read it in the record.
Authorizing the mayor and finance director to enter into a purchase agreement with Boundtree Medical LLC, 5,000 Tuttle Crossing Boulevard, Dublin, Ohio, for the purchase of medical supplies for the EMS and Life Squad units during 2023 and declaring an emergency.
Council.
Mr. President,
Ms. Pollock.
I move for passage of ordinance 16 of 2023 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Pollock.
Second.
Second by Mr. Davish. Thank you, Mr. Davish. Ms. Evans, should we take a roll call vote of council, please?
Mrs. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Davish?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Wallenzeck?
Yes.
Mr. Zale?
Yes, thank you, council. Ordinance 16, 2023 passes with 7 yeas and 0 nays. The next item, item 17, 2023, which is also presented by Mayor Michael Safarian and Fire Chief Clayton O'Brien. Item 17, I will defer to Chief O'Brien.
PNR Communications is the place that takes care of all of our portable radios, mobile radios, and pagers. The fire department actually has 133 of these. And so what this ordinance does is gives us the ability to have a maintenance contract with PNR Radio Communications. And I will note that although that they are a Dayton address, they actually are just right down the road. So we're able to make sure that they're in working order at a very quick, timely manner by having this ordinance in place.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Council, any questions or comments?
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves.
thank you. Chief O'Brien, I apologize for not calling and talking to you beforehand. With our pagers and portable radios, how are they, I don't know how to explain it. When we need to move them forward, get rid of some of them to get new ones, how often is the turnaround on those, on the radios and pagers? Do you know offhand, or-
It does depend on the radio and or pager. So like a pager won't last as long as a portable radio, but a portable radio won't last as long as a mobile radio. So when we talk about a mobile radio, it's a radio that's fixed within the apparatus, and a portable radio would be like what you see here. This city was actually a part of a grant not too long ago. So we are very fortunate at the fire department currently that all of our radios are pretty new within the last 5 years. Usually the best recommended time frame for portable replacement would be about a 10-year time span. But it does depend on, use and wear and tear type of thing.
Thank you. But the other part of that is, do we have some that are possibly coming up here at the next, our next budgetary hearings next year for replacement?
Potentially, so having I don't have a full inventory list of the 133 that we need. Now, I do know that we have some pagers that will need to be replaced, but I'm just not sure on the count of the portables or the mobiles that would need to be replaced.
Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will assign item 17, 2023 as ordinance 17, 2023, and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor and finance director to enter into a service agreement contract with P&R Communications Service Incorporated, 731 East First Street, Dayton, Ohio, for the service and maintenance of pagers and portable radios for the City of Oregon Fire and Rescue Department and declaring an emergency.
Council,
Mr. President,
Ms. Paula.
I move for passage of ordinance 17 of 2023 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Paula.
Second.
Second by Mr. Drake. Thank you, Mr. Drake. Ms. Evans, you take a roll call vote of council, please.
Mrs. Pauloff,
Yes.
Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak.
Yes.
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Wallenzak,
Yes.
Mr. Zale,
Yes, thank you, council. Ordinance 17, 2023 passes with 7 yeas and 0 nays. The next item, item 18, 2023, is being presented by Mayor Michael Safarian and Public Service Director Paul Roman, and I will defer to Mr. Roman on this item.
Thank you, Mr. President. We just had a committee meeting to discuss this item, but the ordinance itself is needed to increase the water tap charges for new construction. These are the actual costs for a distribution crew to go and make a tap for a new home. And what we're proposing is really just the cost it actually takes us to do that work in 2023. Our last charge that we've had was actually established in 2007, so it's been a while since that's been increased, but just with the recent inflationary costs, we feel it's prudent to do it at this time. So there's a lot of information in the Exhibit A, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I will sign item 18, 2023 as ordinance 18, 2023, and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to establish water tap charges for the Oregon Water Distribution System and declaring an emergency.
Council,
Mr. President,
Mr. Davish.
I move for passage of ordinance 18 of 2023 as emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Davish.
Second.
Second by Ms. Pauloff. Thank you, Ms. Pauloff.
Mr. President, before we take
Yes, Ms.
a
Walczak.
vote, can I just say something real quick, just so the residents understand?
Yeah.
This is just for a new tap, a new home, a new business. This has nothing, an existing water customer will see no rate increase on this whatsoever. It is just for a new tap to the city, and it's only recovering our costs of service because the city actually does the water tap at the curb. So this is just to recover the cost of that service. I just wanted the residents to make sure that they knew that this is not an increase on their water rates.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Walczak. Appreciate that. Ms. Evans, you take a roll call vote of council, please.
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mrs. Pauloff,
Yes.
Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Wallenzak.
Yes.
Mr. Zale,
Yes, thank you, council. Ordinance 18, 2023 passes with 7 yeas and 0 nays. Next item is item 19, 2023, which is also being submitted by or presented by Mayor Michael Safarian and Public Service Director Paul Roman, and I will defer to Mr. Roman on that.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is needed to proceed with the fencing installation for the town center or the Jake and Cooper Dog Park. Toledo Fence and Supply was the lowest and best bid out of 5 bids received, so. And it's pretty close to what we'd estimated, but just under, so it was a good price. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council, any questions or comments regarding item 19?
Mr. President,
Mr. Horniak.
if possible, can we get an update on how everything is progressing to the dog park?
Actually, very well.
Okay.
The biggest thing we were waiting on was the fencing. And we recently had a get-together over this, and the contributions coming in are coming in very, very well. So I think we have everything pretty much taken care of except the fencing. The pavilion's being donated, and the concrete for
Concrete, we've
that.
already contracted.
What's that?
The concrete work, we've already contracted with Smith Paving. So it'll all come together here in the next couple months.
Will they be doing the concrete underneath the pavilion?
No.
Right, that's being donated also, so it's doing very well. We were hoping by May 1st.
If I may, they would like
Yes.
to open the dog park on the birthday of Larry Schaefer's son.
Yes, yes.
So I think I think it's May 23rd, is that?
Yeah, I thought
That-
it was
that's
in
what
May
it
is
is.
what we were
Yeah.
shooting for.
Yeah.
There's
So-
probably still an agreement that we still have to execute with the nonprofit group, and then they are executing an agreement with Toledo Unleashed as well. But construction-wise, we're on schedule.
Yeah.
So.
And I believe that there's going to be a pre-construction meeting also coming up soon, is what Rodney had
Yeah.
told me. And then I don't know if Larry wants to do this or not, but we're looking at doing a groundbreaking ceremony for the start of it, and then, the grand opening of it on the, late May, mid to late May.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak. Council, any other questions or comments regarding item 19?
Mr. President,
Mr. Drake?
Mr. Roman, I know there was talk early on with the dog park. Do you know if they're still gonna split it for bigger dogs and
Mhm.
smaller dogs?
It is split, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
Thank
like 2 acres for the large dogs and 1 acre for, I think, for the small.
you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Drake.
Mhm.
Council, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I will assign item 19, 2023 as ordinance 19, 2023, and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record.
Accepting the bid of Toledo Fence and Supply Company, 2525 Hill Avenue, Toledo, Ohio, for furnishing labor, materials, and equipment for the Town Center Dog Park Fence Project 2023, authorizing the Mayor, Director of Public Service, and Finance Director to enter into a contract with said contractor and declaring an emergency.
Council,
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves?
thank you. I move for passage of ordinance 19 of 2023 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Second.
Second by Mr. Davish. Thank you, Mr. Davish. Ms. Evans, would you take a roll call vote from council on ordinance 19, 2023?
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Davish?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mrs. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Wallensack?
Yes.
Mr. Zale?
Yes, thank you, council. Ordinance 19, 2023 passes with 7 yeas and 0 nays. Council, this does complete our items for passage this evening, and I will now move to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President, and council, you got the correspondence from the tax department, and make an appointment today to fill the position of tax specialist. And I would ask council's concurrence in the appointment of, these, I don't bring my glasses, it makes it really difficult for me. Miss Amy Wang of 2130 Richard Road, Ottawa Hills, to the position of tax specialist to be placed at step 1 of the SB pay range, which is now rate $24.56 an hour annually, $51,084.80. The startup date will be February 27th, which is a Monday, and I would once again ask for the concurrence of council for the appointment of Miss Amy Wang to tax specialist.
Council,
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallensack?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would like to concur with the mayor's appointment of Amy Wang to the tax specialist position with an hourly rate of $24.56 an hour. And I believe her new position will start February 27th.
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Wallensack.
Second.
Second by Mr. Davish. Thank you, Mr. Davish. Council, are there any objections? Hearing no objections, Mr. Mayor, council does concur with the appointment of Miss Amy Wang.
Amy Wang is in the front row there, and we could ask you to come up and
Congratulations.
talk for 15, 20 minutes or so. Or not.
Or not.
Or not.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard. And with that, I would conclude my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Major.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Major. Ms. Pepora.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Pepora. Mr. Roman.
No report. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Mr. Reeves.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Drake.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Drake. Mr. Wallensack.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Wallensack. Mr. Davish.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Davish. Ms. Pauloff.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Pauloff. Mr. Horniak.
One item to share with the members while we're here, the Oregon Economic Development Foundation will have its monthly meeting this Friday, February 17th. It'll start at 7:30 a.m. at St. Charles Hospital downstairs in the Oregon room. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak. And I need to set a public hearing for Monday, February the 27th at 7 p.m. For 7 agricultural district renewals. The first one will be a renewal application for an agricultural district for Abdallah and Renia Tawil for 5.249 acres located at 4640 Brown Road and 7.117 acres located at 4664 Brown Road. We also need a renewal application for agricultural district for the Oregon Board of Education, Oregon City Schools for 6.62 acres located at 3810 Seaman Road, 5.44 acres located at 3834 Seaman Road, 22.5 acres located at 3604 Pickle Road, 38.659 acres located at 1100 South Wind Road, 2 acres located at 6560 Cedar Point Road, 13 acres located at 1051 North Norden, 2 acres located at 6580 Cedar Point Road, and 27.72 acres located at 6450 Cedar Point Road. Renew application for an agricultural district for Gary A. Jolin et al. For 4.1 acres located at 4005 Corduroy Road, 35.112 acres located at 4555 Corduroy Road, 10 acres located at 4610 Corduroy Road, and 32.94 acres located at 4655 Corduroy Road. Also a renew application for an agricultural district for Paul F. and Lana J. Romstadt for 19.53 acres located at 5205 Pickle Road, 5.86 acres located at 5231 Pickle Road, 13.008 acres located at 5262 Navarre Avenue, 10 acres located at 5259 Pickle Road, and 4.146 acres located at 5312 Navarre Avenue. A renewal application for an agricultural district for Jerry A. and Christine M. Toth for 5 acres located at 4550 Pickle Road and 5 acres located at 4530 Pickle Road. A renew application for agricultural district for Janet M. Morrison, trustee, for 20.136 acres located at 0 Navarre Avenue, 12.443 acres located at 4330 Navarre Avenue, and 7.565 acres located at 4718 Navarre Avenue. And finally, a renewal application for an agriculture district for Orwood LLC, an Ohio limited liability company, for 46.6 acres located at 6100 Brown Road. And that completes my report. We do have some people signed in to speak this evening.
We have to make a motion. We gotta make a motion to set the hearing.
Do you have to move the set?
You have to move this up.
Just set the public hearing? You can just set it.
Yeah, we just.
Oh, okay.
You just did.
Mr. President, would you be willing to read those again, please?
I didn't catch all those.
A renewal application.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a few people signed in to speak this evening. First person up is Ms. Ackerman. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, Ms. Ackerman.
Ackerman, 931 Berry Road. I have a full laundry list, but I want to start with the fact that I want to remind you, there is a wetland, 7 acres that you want to zone. Now the new one is the what is it called? Advanced manufacturing. Okay, so I just want to remind you that. And I saw on the OEDF site, can't believe I still get nervous talking up here. But I looked on there and it said that the site that the city owns that is adjacent to that wetland has a site due diligence, phase 1 environmental site assessment completed, no. Phase 2 environmental site assessment completed, no. Geotechnical study completed, no. Wetlands delineation completed, no. Archaeological study completed, no. Endangered species study completed, no. I would just ask that you guys try to at least try to show the outside world that we actually care about the environment and do your due diligence. I mean, this is right out there, public record that you're not. You don't even, you haven't done anything positive in an environmental concern way regarding any of these properties. I also want to say, I think it's ironic that you're asking for approval for agricultural district for properties that on the OEDF website are for sale without the owner's consent or knowledge that you have as part of an industrial park. It's agricultural. The owners are not very happy about it. I wish you guys would get on the ball with that because it's very irresponsible. I mean, every time I look on there, you've got somebody else's property for sale. Is anybody questioning, doubting me? Go on the Oregon Economic Development site. Some of the very parcels that you just named for Ag District are shown on there as part of the Parkway Industrial site. And I contacted one of the owners and they had no idea that you had their property listed on there. I do want to say, I'm very nervous. I need to move forward as a citizen of the city. And I would like to know, when are you putting security cameras in this facility? Is that on your radar? Is it scheduled? Has it even been discussed? Anybody? Is it
Can you elaborate on your
concern?
question?
What else?
Security, yeah.
Do you have any plans of putting security cameras in this room for the safety of yourselves and citizens and anybody that comes in here?
Being recorded.
I'm saying like most buildings, public buildings have security cameras 24 hours a day.
There is security cameras in the hallway going down to the court, in the police division. There are.
About here,
cameras.
this room.
It's being recorded.
When this meeting's over, that ends. Where's the security in this room after the meeting? Or the rest of the 24 hours, if somebody broke into this room, how would you, is there, no one's concerned about that?
Well, if somebody is going in the court, going from the hallway right there into this building or into this room, it would be captured on camera.
I would like to formally request that security cameras be placed in this room that are on 24 hours a day. For your consideration, please.
We'll consider that.
Okay. And I have a lot of environmental things that I would like to address, but because of some past experiences with some of the people in this room and that have taken place in this room, and the lack of action on the part of Ms. Purpura, I have got to just address this to move forward. For any citizen that wants to come in here at any time and speak with any of you for their safety, I filed a police report and I've heard nothing about an event that took place in this room that Ms. Poliff was a witness to, Mr. Safarian, and Mr. Mazur. I was hoping it would get handled. It was completely ignored. Then a few meetings later, Mayor accused me of attacking a person. Mrs. Pollock backed up that statement emphatically. I don't feel safe. I don't feel that you are all doing your due diligence to keep this safe for the public when they come in here and have something that they're concerned about. I'm a nervous wreck because of it. And I want to know moving forward, and especially should I run for office or any other Oregon citizen run for office, that they can come in here and not be bullied or menaced. And I'd like to ask Ms. Purpura directly, why have you ignored my police report? And why have none of you that are aware of what took place, why have none of you at any point reached out to try to resolve any of it?
What you had asked me, in order for me to proceed forward with any report, I have to make sure that the facts contained in the report are applicable to the law. And when I'm doing that, I got to apply case law. So if there's case law that says that those particular facts are not found to be criminal in nature, I cannot proceed forward. Sometimes what you may think or others may think should apply, case law and law tells us otherwise. So I didn't ignore anything. I did review it, and I determined that there weren't sufficient evidence to go forward with a criminal charge.
I could have someone putting spittle in my face, nose to nose, calling me a effing C word. He did nothing, she did nothing, and let it take place. I do not hold you responsible because you had not taken office yet. I mean, you're sworn in, but he had control of this room at that time and did nothing to promote my safety at all. In fact, stood there smiling. I have a recording of him saying, I said, Mike, you stood there and did nothing while I was called an effing C word. He said, I did, but you attacked him. Now we've gone to another level of, I have been accused of something. I want some closure on this.
So I can tell you that no report has been forwarded to me as you listed as a suspect. So I don't have a report that's sent to me as you as a suspect being accused of something. I can tell you that a report that I reviewed that you're asking about, I determined there was insufficient evidence to bring a charge against based on those facts that were presented.
Thus, the request for the cameras after the meetings, anytime that anyone is in this room. You understand that's why I'm asking you for that?
I hear what you're asking, and
Okay.
if that's what, council and administration
Yeah,
want
I'll-
to consider, then
If I may, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Manager.
Chief Brandon Beegan and I will take a look and see what's appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hacker. Ruth Price, would you please come to the podium, state your name and address, please, for the record?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Major, my name is Ruth Price. I live at 5255 Seaman Road. I was going to bring this up. I have another issue, but since Beth talked about her issue, I received a very threatening letter a while back because of my political beliefs. We tried to call over here. We called 911. After a half hour, a friend who was active in the city finally called somebody she knew so they could get a hold of somebody from the police department. And an officer came over and took a report, took the letter, said they would get back to me, and I've never heard a thing. And it was a very threatening letter. I can't give you the information on it. I'm not prepared. It's at home because I didn't think I'd be talking about this tonight. So obviously there's a lack of communications here somewhere. Okay, the other thing is for Mr. Roman. I was reading the Sunday paper today, and there was little bitty prints here. I had to get my glasses on. It's about notice of bids.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that? It's for some sort of lines, water lines or?
It's for, yeah, I actually explained in the committee meeting
Yeah.
that, yeah, it's for tapping valves.
Okay, no,
and-
this is something different. Anyway. the
Well,
en-
what does it say? I mean, you
I'm
don't,
sorry.
we put out bids all the time, so it depends on what project you're referring to, or
Well, this.
I don't
is-
know what you're looking at.
This goes on about a fine that the refinery received,
Oh, I don't know if that's anything.
because of, surface water drainage.
Yeah, that
they
must be
were
something from,
fined
that's nothing from my.
$420-some thousand by the EPA. I wondered, this all has your name on it, and I just wondered where that water came from, where it was being released, and what they're going to do to rectify it.
Can you
And
show
I'll
me
give
that?
you this,
Can you show it to me right now? Because I don't know what you're referring to.
so you can get back to me.
Maybe, I don't even know if my name's on it, to
Okay.
be honest.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
What is it for?
Thank you, Ms. Price. Mr. Quinn?
Yeah, Mr. President,
Did you?
could I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead.
This is a bid for getting water suppliers to provide bids for our water valves. That has, I don't know what Mrs. Price is referring to. There's another thing below it that's not connected at all. I can't speak for what you asked for the other. The top is just a notice to bidders. That's it. That's the answer. No, that's a whole nother ad. It maybe Dennis would know better. He's in the environmental business, but yeah, the first is just a bid that we advertised for.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done. I just want to explain it real quick.
Mr. Quinn, you come to the podium and please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Philip Quinn and I live at 6013 James Road. I have to watch because part of this is a criminal act that took place. But the whole thing started that I think the city council needs to be aware about here is the neighbor, what happened is I bought a property. Just moved into the house. I came in front of the council and asked to put a garage up, which I did. And was issued the permit with no problem at all. Since then, I had a survey done on my property. And I have somebody's fence that is over 1 foot on my property in most places, the length of my property. To his advantage, it's on my property. So I know the city doesn't do anything about it. They tell you to get a civil suit. Sure, it's easy to say for you guys, but it's $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, even $8,000 when you call a lawyer. Why would there be a reason? I went back to the real estate. Why is it that is part of the law or the way you?
Mr. Quinn, I'm just gonna let you know, I know that you do have a attorney that's involved in this matter. And I would just recommend that maybe you speak to him, just so that your rights are protected due to the fact that you do have a matter in criminal court.
Well, the reason I was here for today, I had to put the basis of the line down. I won't talk about the criminal matter anymore, but I will talk about my neighbors that I have next to me. I want to know why they have the police in their pocket. From the difference of how I've been treated from when I first moved in there, to officers stopping and greeting me and introducing, are you new to the neighborhood? And as soon as things turn around, my neighbors would find any reason at all to call the police. And they've been to my house 6 times. And then they're on my case, making everything look like it's my fault. All I did is bought a house and moved in there. These people have their friends of them are either law enforcement or city council maybe. I don't know where, but they're there. I'm from Chicago. I mean, the police come over and talk to you like, I just robbed a bank. Not like I'm a 62-year-old man living in a neighborhood. Everything's changed. And these people should not tell me that we don't have to do anything about our fence because we know people in the city. Well, can I get a job here? If that's how it works, because that's how it seems to work. Anything I talk to them about or try talking to them about, they run and call the police. And they come out and give it to me. And then I got charged with a criminal act, which we won't talk about. Any questions?
Have
Want to
you-
know who the people are?
Mr. Quinn, have you talked to the police chief about this?
I have not. I have a state police officer that lives next to me. Mr. Cooper, Scott Cooper. He knows him well.
Mr. President, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
the police chief is right over here. I'd be happy to sit down with you and him and talk about your concerns so that, you know, maybe we can address that.
That would be great. And about the city aspect of people that have relatives in the city, is that fair for them to say, we don't have to because my dad works for the city? And so does on both sides of the marriage, they're both tied into the city.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to sit down and get a little more information. I just don't have any information to
Yeah,
go off
I'll
of right
get you
now, so.
plenty.
Okay.
Thank you all for
Yeah,
your time.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. With that, there's no one else left to speak. I will seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Second by Mr. Davish. Council, any objections? No. This meeting is adjourned.
Do you know this situation?